So, listen, thanks everyone to take the time to be here on this webinar. We hope this session will be good for you, that we can share some insights of what we've been basically learning during this unfortunate pandemic situation. As I said before, we will have in the end of the webinar a moment to answer questions that you might have. So feel free to ask us questions on the chat, and we will get back to you if we can answer all the questions. So do that. We don't want this to be a one-sided webinar, and we are not here also to do a very hardcore webinar on products. So we will give you a light overview of HubSpot as a platform, on how companies will, on how we think we can help companies managing this new situation. So if there is any, if you have interest, we are happy to do one-to-one sessions after the webinar. So feel free to reach out after. You will be sent an email with the recording of the webinar, and you can basically then engage with us. Okay. So today I'm here with Luke from HubSpot. Sorry. And we will be speaking about how to manage the new normal with HubSpot Sales and Marketing. I'm Diogo Rebelo. I'm VP of Sales and Marketing here in Provident, and one of my roles is to manage the HubSpot practice. Luke, if you can give us a quick introduction.
So my name is Luke Curry. I'm the partner manager, the partner channel owner for EMEA in HubSpot. So I've been working with Provident for about a year now, getting their HubSpot practice off the ground. We'll talk about this in the webinar, about why we work so closely with Provident and why we do joint ventures like this all the time. It's because HubSpot has moved more into the platform space. HubSpot is more of a CRM than it ever has been before. Sometimes CRM projects become complex with migrations and setups and project management and all that type of stuff. Diogo and the team at Provident support our customers in those types of activities, and we work really well together. So that's a little bit about me. Today, we are going to be talking about managing the new normal with HubSpot Sales and Marketing. So for all those people out there who are looking for maybe a demonstration of the product, or like Diogo said, a more technical deep dive, we're going to keep it pretty high level today. We're just going to be explaining the concepts behind some of the features that we use, and also tying that in with the changes that have happened within the business area since, I guess, March, or earlier than March even. I was talking to Diogo before that we kicked off today. I've given this webinar once before, a little while ago, and even though there have been some updates when it comes to vaccines and stuff like that, we're still in this new mindset of people being distributed, people being harder to access from a one-to-one point of view. Salespeople can't just drop in unannounced office blocks and assume that they'll bump into somebody that they can sell to. Everything is going to be online. Everything's going to be from the comfort of your own home. And just to illustrate this, yesterday I became a remote worker completely for the first time. This is something that I never thought would be. If you asked me at the beginning of 2020, would I be working in a remote capacity? Someone who loves the office, someone who loves the buzz of the gossip at the coffee machine and all that type of stuff, it would have been beyond something that I would believe. But this is the new normal that we're working in. It makes sense for me to work as a remote worker right now. And I think there's a lot of people like me out there who didn't expect to find themselves in the situation that they are, but the good news is that we can take steps to make sure that we thrive during this time. So a quick agenda. We're going to show you guys how to produce inbound leads for your sales team. So also we're going to have a chat about how to manage remote and distributed teams with HubSpot. This is something that a lot of our customers keep on talking to us about. Me and Diogo, when we're on discovery calls, this is kind of one of the biggest things that people are looking to solve for. We're going to talk about automating as many of the processes as possible in your sales and marketing setup. Again, if we're going to make this an efficient setup for the organization, we've got to make sure that a lot of the automations are doing the work in the background. And we're going to talk about how to manage your pipeline, and set up accurate forecasting. This is going to be key as well when you're managing those distributed sales teams, to make sure that everyone is rowing in the same direction and that management has all the information they need to make decisions. We're also going to talk about how to target customers effectively through account-based marketing. So this is something that HubSpot has really developed over the last year or so. HubSpot is known for as the home of inbound marketing. This is still something that's core to our own business. We put a lot of money and a lot of effort into building content that people really engage with, and that's where most of our business comes from. But lately, as we move up market from the small biz and medium, the SMB market, we will be using and utilizing account-based marketing. We've built tools within HubSpot in order for you to get the most out of that strategy also. So we'll also have a chat about that. Over to Diogo.
So for those who are new to Provident, so basically we are a CRM provider. We've been in the space since the year 2000. We are we have a full set of disciplines here. We provide consulting, implementation, integration, and support services. And one thing I think we are proud of, not only our long-time experience, but also the fact that we are vendor neutral. So we not only work with HubSpot, but we also work with other providers. That I think it's something that puts us in a very nice position. So we can actually advise which is the best solutions for each of our customers. So going to the next slide, COVID, as Luke was speaking, has been a life-changing event for everyone. I like to call it as a catalyst for a digital transformation process that was happening in lots of organizations, but it triggered and it makes this process happen much faster. And what we've been seeing and what we like to suggest is that, unfortunately, this is something that has changed business and the way people interact. As Luke mentioned, Luke is working remotely. I'm working remotely also. I couldn't imagine this happening, and lots of us are in the same position. So the way companies would interact with people in other organizations changed dramatically. So there is a huge demand of platforms and tools that allow us to reach in a much more effective way people that are working in a remote perspective. Also, one thing we think is that companies shouldn't see this as a temporary situation. This is something that's changed forever, and this will be something that will be remembered on the history as probably a new revolution in terms of in a new industrial age, almost, because as I said, this changed our lives and how we interact with the companies that we buy services and products from in a complete different way. The channels that we used to interact changed. Now we all are in Zoom meetings. We didn't used to do that. I usually said, I was on a call today with a customer, and I was saying I usually had, if I had 3 meetings during a day, I would say it was a very productive day. But now we can end up almost up to 10 meetings. So there is room. This is one of the advantages of the good sides of this situation, is that allow people, by working remotely, to be able to do many more things. But I don't want to step into your presentation, Luke. So
yeah, it's okay. So this is thanks very much, Diogo, for giving an overview of how Provident sees the situation. I wanted to add this video here to let people know that this is something that is constantly being updated. This is something that's happening now, and like Diogo said, it's unlikely that we're going to go back to normal. I mean, somebody, one of the top guys in the US mentioned that we probably have to wear masks for another year at least. So some of these changes are going to be impacting businesses, but the good news is that we do have tools in place where we can minimize this and even thrive. I mean, Diogo, we've never really spoke about that before, but when I think about how many face-to-face meetings I can have, when I was doing direct sales, when I was on the road, say in the UK, I could have 2 to 3 sales meetings a day maximum. And now
that would be amazing.
Yeah. And now it can be back to back, which is great. But also there is something missing from a personal and a human touch that we can't really solve for through platforms and stuff like that. But we'll do our best with what we've got. Okay, so these are the things that we think have changed for sure. People are working from home. People are worried about the future. Maybe they might be a little bit reluctant to make investments in your products or services right now. So we have to really start to build trust with them through nurturing campaigns, through advertising, through brand building. People are learning through content and are looking for people that they can trust when they're making these decisions. Industries are getting more concentrated. This is something that if you're in the SMB sector, this is kind of bad news for us. We need to have a look at this, because the Amazon is going to be the one that people go to for retail. Google is going to be the one that people go for searching, and Facebook is getting billions of visits more than they used to. So this is the kind of concentration that we need to try to fight against through effective marketing, effective sales processes. That's what we're going to have a chat about. So this is our take on how to survive and thrive in these times, adapting to inbound marketing. So inbound marketing, like I said at the beginning of this conversation today, is something that's very close to the foundation of HubSpot. We want to make sure that we're not interrupting people through our marketing. We want to make sure that we're providing loads of help, loads of content that's helpful for them, so they have a great appreciation for what we're doing. And then when they're ready to be a hand raiser, we're going to make sure that when they are a qualified lead, that they get to a salesperson as quickly as possible. So that's what we've built our whole machine around. It's working very well. We believe in inbound marketing now more than ever. We also think that you guys should be thinking about adapting to inbound selling. So training salespeople to help first and sell later. This is the approach that we take internally in HubSpot. We've got about 200,000 companies that use our free products, our free software for their business. Salespeople are trained to reach out to those guys. For sure, try to upsell them and try to solve their business problems with paid products, but also they're trained to make sure that they can get the absolute most out of the free products, to make sure that they are comfortable, or when they are comfortable, to step up and buy the more premium stuff, that we have a really good relationship with them. Measuring outcomes for marketing and sales utilizing ABM. So that's like account-based marketing. So we want to make sure that if we are going to be doing targeted marketing, that the salespeople, the sales managers, the sales org have a say in the type of accounts that we should be going after in a more targeted way. So if you're in a position where you're selling big ticket items, if you've got a very limited amount of people who can buy your service or product, this is the type of strategy that we think that you should be implementing. You may be already implementing that right now, but we're going to put a system in place to make sure that we can measure the effectiveness of that. Okay, so I think one of the biggest takeaways from the new post-COVID inbound sales process is the long-term view. So I know for managing different partners all over EMEA and different sales organizations, everybody wants to get a deal in as quickly as possible, which is understandable. But I think because it's harder to actually reach out to people because they're not in the office, people are a little bit more afraid to actually make commitments. And also people are juggling maybe family obligations or whatever in the house while they're trying to work. Deals are taking a little bit longer, and also this long-term view. If we can put this in place, I think that it's the best way to manage the sales process post-COVID. So just a little bit before we get into some of the more detailed parts of the webinar about how we use HubSpot to fix some of these problems, just a quick note on the HubSpot journey. HubSpot started as an automation tool for marketing. In 2014, we've launched the CRM, and the CRM in HubSpot is the base for all of the HubSpot hubs. So that's Marketing Hub, Sales Hub, and Service Hub. Since the launch of the CRM, we've grown the CRM into a $200 million business in about 6 years. The tools that allowed HubSpot to do this are even more effective in the post-COVID-19 sales process, and all of the tools that we use to build this business over the last 6 years have been the tools that we are going to show you today. Okay, so let's start at the top of funnel. So I mentioned that you guys, or the way the HubSpot views its products and its services would be the HubSpot CRM at the very core of what we do, and then the flywheel approach to the other 3 hubs that we use to engage with customers. Something to keep in mind is when we think about HubSpot, we're trying to think about every time, we're trying to put HubSpot in between you and the customer. So every time they interact with your brand, your website, your salespeople, your service people, all that data is captured in one place. When we capture that data in one place, we can then go ahead, segment them, nurture them, and then close them eventually when they become qualified leads. So when we market them, we're trying to engage them. When we're selling them, we're trying to close them. Service is trying to delight them. And then the idea here is that we'll delight our customers so much, measure that their feedback, and then we can use that information to market to them again, cross-sell, and grow our install base. That's the kind of ethos that we use at HubSpot. I think it's very customer friendly. And I think that in this new post-COVID world, I think this is the way to go. Okay, so let's start at the very top of funnel, the SEO tools. When I left college about 10 years ago, a lot of my friends went into agencies. They were working on SEO as SEO managers. It's kind of, back then it was very much a kind of a mystical thing, as in no one really knew exactly how to do it or how to get the most out of it. And there was kind of SEO gurus. There still is these days. But this is something that has been kind of more standardized. And with the HubSpot Marketing Hub, you will be able to use our SEO tools for recommendations to make sure that every single page on your website is making the impact necessary to be found online. In the last few years, there has been a huge uptick in online advertising. HubSpot allows you to manage your advertising very effectively through HubSpot, advertising on Instagram, Google, whatever. SEO is something that we should really be focused on as well, as if we get leads through SEO, that's net new for free. So it's something that we really need to focus on. HubSpot will give you the tools you need to make sure that you've got your bases covered and you don't have to outsource that part of the marketing funnel to a third party. So blogging tools. So content is going to be a big part of inbound marketing. With HubSpot, we generate a huge amount of content on a wide variety of subjects. So we cast our net as wide as possible. We get about 200 million unique visitors per year on our main website, all based on our content driving. So, well, not all based. We do have some advertising, but for the majority, it's based on the content. HubSpot allows you to build content directly in the portal to get your message out to your potential customers. This will allow you to generate leads, get people into the top of funnel, and then nurture them into qualified leads. Social tools. This kind of ties into what we were talking about moments ago with the SEO. Anytime that we're running a marketing strategy, we want to make sure that we can get the most possible out of stuff that we're not paying for. So if we can run a campaign on social media, if we can get attention through free posts and stuff like that, HubSpot will allow you to not only schedule posts, but also report on how the engagement with different posts are going, and basically put this on autopilot for you so you can focus on other things. But when someone comes to the website for the first time, for example, through your social media links, HubSpot will tag that contact as a social media lead. So we can do some attribution reporting, see how much our ROI is from social media and stuff like that. So something that we could really focus on as well during the setup of Marketing Hub, if you guys go down that route. Hey, Diogo, I noticed that there's a few comments coming in here. Is there anything there that needs to be answered?
Now I've been replying to some of the questions.
Okay, cool. So I can see Diogo on my screen here. So Diogo, if there is anything kind of pressing that you can't answer yourself, raise a hand and I'll jump in. Sound good? Okay, cool. Okay, so this is where we start to see where the tools can really help in this post-COVID world. We're talking about segmentation here. Segmenting your database is something that is incredibly important when we're talking about marketing effectively. So when we talk about segmentation, we want to be able to build a couple of different types of segments. One would be an active list. An active list allows you to really focus on a group of contacts in your database that is going to be changing all the time, updating, given a set of parameters that we put in. So let's say that you run or you want to have a marketing campaign, an email campaign that goes out to a list of all of the people who have been on your pricing page in the last 30 days. So it's very, very relevant to what's happening in the last month. We can have an active list that is updating constantly every day for the last 30 days and be sending out very specific information based on that. We can also have static lists. So for an example, if you've run an online workshop or webinar or whatever, we can have a list of all of the people who attended that or who signed up through a third party like Eventbrite, whatever. And then we can use that list again for something that is very like a nurturing campaign that is very specific to that group. For example, we'll probably do that after this webinar. You'll all receive an automation based on segmentation, based on your attendance today. So you'll see it work in real time. This is something.
Can I add one thing? I
Sure.
think on this topic of segmentation, one of the things that I think we really love on HubSpot is that the segmentation is usually available only for marketing purposes, but on HubSpot is something that is available also from a sales perspective. So when we are segmenting, we are not only segmenting to do marketing activities. This type of segmentation can be also done from a sales perspective when your sales reps want to target a set of contacts or accounts based on criteria that don't have to be only transactional, but they can also come from marketing filters, such as someone that participated on a webinar. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's kind of multi-use in that case. In this case, we've got it as a marketing tool, but like I said, this is something that the whole sales and marketing organization can benefit from. Something to really talk about. We can talk about segmentation for a long time, and it's really the bedrock of a lot of the marketing strategy that we'll be doing. Lead scoring, again, lead scoring is something that some companies really like. Some people have never really put too much time into. A lot of my customers who have been very successful with this have businesses where this type of lead scoring is very beneficial. And I think that more companies now can benefit from lead scoring because we want to make sure that our salespeople are going after those companies that are best fit or most ready to buy, all that type of stuff. So what we can do with HubSpot is we can have a set of criteria that gives a plus or a minus point for contacts if they come from a certain company that's marked as a target company, for example. If they've been to the pricing page in the last 30 days, X, Y, and Z, whatever you think is going to exhibit buying behavior or good fit, we can associate a lead score with those guys. We can either rotate that lead automatically to the correct salesperson, given a sales territory or whatever, or we can put them in a very targeted email nurturing campaign or SMS campaign based on that lead score as well. So those scores can trigger different events. For example, say if you're an e-commerce business and you want to trigger a certain VIP sale to those people who are really engaged with your content, they've bought X amount of products before. Once they trigger a certain lead score, we can then enroll them with a really aggressive sales email to get them to take action. So loads you can do with lead scoring, loads you can do from a marketing point of view, but also a sales point of view within HubSpot. Okay, So I know a couple of slides ago, I was talking about segmentation being one of the most important things about the marketing funnel in the post-COVID landscape. But marketing automation is something that we have put a huge amount of investment into. Marketing automation, for those of you from a sales background, when we say this, we're really talking about enrolling people in a step-by-step automation to build out a customer journey from when they first engage with the content or whatever that we're providing, emails that they're going to get, if then rules, business logic rules, so that if they open an email and click on a call to action within the email, what happens next? When does this lead get rotated to salespeople? What the next step should be for that salesperson to take. So if we want them to call them within 30 minutes, whatever, the marketing automation platform allows us to build out that journey from A to Z. A lot of my customers use this in a very straightforward way, but some of them use this to build complex processes. It does depend on the type of business that you're in. So we can talk about that at another time during a deep dive session. But it's something to think about. If you're a marketer and you're doing anything manually kind of over and over again, we should be able to build an automation for that and make you more effective and more efficient. Okay, HubSpot ads. So HubSpot ads, this is something that was added a few years ago, because when we're talking about marketing, we're really talking about attention. And a lot of the attention right now, for better or for worse, people are on their phones, people are on Instagram and LinkedIn, all that type of stuff in app. So we have to have a presence there. We can talk about using the social media campaigns within HubSpot as well, but HubSpot ads allows you to connect all of your advertising accounts into HubSpot as well. So if you look at this as, again, a way of tracking all of the interactions between you and your customers, whether that's marketing emails, advertising in this case, or calls by salespeople, we're going to capture all of the data of the interactions between a contact and your business at one place, including ads. And what HubSpot allows you to do is to get a return on investment figure for a group of advertising accounts that you'd be using, so you can see the effectiveness of a campaign on the bottom line. So a really interesting way of managing your that part of the marketing funnel as well, and it kind of cuts out marketers having to go to lots of multiple consoles in order to execute a strategy. So this is the last slide on the account, or on the marketing side of things. Account-based marketing. So what we've built here in HubSpot is kind of an interface between sales and marketing. A lot of the marketing literature will talk about this idea of smarketing, where marketing and sales are working very closely together, and they are building SLAs. They're really working well together. But usually that means just a few meetings a month or a quarter between marketing and sales. And then next steps to be taken off-site or offline, whatever. And with HubSpot target accounts, you can put an account-based marketing strategy in action. We can track exactly who the salespeople want us to be selling to or marketing to. We can build lists based on these target accounts, track how many of the decision makers have come to the website, etc. And then how many deals we're getting out of these activities as well. So it really does bring together sales and marketing. I think if you're in a business where you have a limited market, where there's only a certain amount of companies who can buy from you, say if it's big ticket items or whatever, I think this tool will be really interesting for you guys. And I think that it's something, again, it's more of a strategy than a set of tools. But HubSpot gives you everything you need to activate that strategy in a very productive way. Okay, so we've reached the handover to sales. So Diogo, was that all clear? Was there any gaps there? Any questions from the team?
I was going to ask you, one question. So one of my favorite features of Marketing Hub is the revenue attribution analytics.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That we probably don't cover. But do you want to speak a bit about that, or like, because I
Absolutely.
think from like we spoke about about return of investment on ads, but the touch points that a customer goes through since the beginning of the engagement till the final deal closed, they can change. For some customers could be just an ad, for some could be a set of touch points. So
exactly. So what Diogo's talking about here is one of our latest reporting updates within HubSpot for marketers. So over the last 4 years, as I've been talking to hundreds and hundreds of directors of marketing, CMOs, all that type of stuff all over Europe, one of the biggest pain points that they have in their business is that they don't think that they're getting recognized as much as they should for the work that they're doing from the sales team or the sales management. So they want to be able to attribute revenue to the activities that they're doing. And when you're not in the closing part of the process, it's difficult to kind of claim ownership of revenue if you didn't get the contract signed yourself. So what HubSpot has done is it's taken that feedback, it's taken the experience that we have in our own business, and we've built a set of reports based on attribution. So you can set up an attribution report to say, okay, we want to attribute all revenue to the first touch, first conversion for a lead. So if you say have a landing page and you want to say any leads that came from that landing page and closed to new business will be attributed to the marketing team for that activity. But a lot of companies, if you've got a complex solution, you're going to usually need more than one touch point with a potential customer. So what HubSpot attribution reporting allows you to do is to attribute a certain weight, a percentage of the revenue to different activities. So the first activity might be when they first converted. So on the landing page, that landing page would be worth, say, 40%. And then there might be 6 other touch points along the way that are all 10% each, or whatever way that you think that the weighting should be. And this allows you to really build out a model of what's working in your marketing mix and what's not, and also allow you to take credit for the work that you're doing for yourself, but also to show management where the resources should be spent in the future.
Yeah, and I think it's not a precise figure, but gives an idea when this was something that in the past was very hard to measure. So one of the things that we also hear from customers is, how do you know that was actually that ad or that touch point? But
Exactly.
it's not a pure science, but at least gives you an idea, you know. So there are models, like most of the analytical models, they try to show you patterns, and that's exactly what technology can help.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry to cut you.
No, it's an interesting one, and it's also possible with HubSpot to track campaigns. So what we can do for marketers as well is we can tag individual marketing assets with a single campaign, and then we can see what the revenue was that came out of that campaign as first conversions came in. So let's say, for example, you've got an ebook or a white paper campaign that you're running. There might be a set of emails, a landing page, social media, and some advertising that you're pumping behind this. We'll be able to tag all of those different assets with one campaign, so that we can say, okay, this was our white paper campaign. This is the amount of conversions we had to new leads. This is the amount of deals that we had out of that campaign as well. So it's cross asset reporting. And then if we want to get even more technical, we can do the attribution reporting that you are talking about there. So a lot of options.
Thank you, Luke.
Cool. All right, cool. So let's talk about the sales end of things now, right? So we want to make sure that we are managing distributed teams. We want to make sure that we're communicating with between marketing and sales in a very structured way, so we can measure performance. We also want to take out the any manual process in making sure that we're rotating new leads to the right people so they can close them as soon as possible. So HubSpot is going to, I'm going to talk about how HubSpot tackles these challenges. Again, any questions, let me know, and Joe will stick up a hand and I'll do my best to answer them. Okay, here we go. So one of the most important things about about HubSpot sales is that we're going to have to build a different type of sales process where we're building a help first process. And there's no better guy to talk to than Mark Roberge. Mark Roberge here was the guy who was the first salesperson in HubSpot. He made the first 500 phone calls and brought us from, I think, 0 to 100 million ARR before he left. So I'm just going to play this for about a minute or so, and let me know if you guys can hear it, because we had some issues before. Give me a thumbs up, Diogo. Nice.
Sales process is basically a sequence of stages that an opportunity goes through as it progresses from a lead to a customer. It essentially establishes a common terminology between business owners, between VPs of sales and managers and reps, so that everybody understands where we are in a particular opportunity. The key to having a sales process is it gives you visibility into where we stand as we pursue the revenue targets for the month or the quota. Without having a well-defined sales process, you're essentially flying blind. You really don't know how you're doing until that month ends and you tally up where you stand. And what a sales process essentially does is it tells us whether or not we're behind or ahead, and if we are behind, it gives us visibility into where things are currently broken so that we can intervene with some strategies that are customized and personalized to that broken stage.
Thanks, Mark. I couldn't say it better myself. So what HubSpot allows you to do is to have a very customizable sales process that you can build within the platform. It also allows you to have an evolving sales process. So if something is broken, like Mark said, it's very easy to update this once everything is set up. Unlike some of the CRMs that I've worked in before, where you would have to call an IT person to rebuild the way a pipeline works or get a report that you need, HubSpot has all that in place and you can make changes very easily. Okay, so let's talk about automation. So the way I'm thinking about this is we've come to the bottom of the marketing funnel. So if we talk about lead generation, nurturing those customers into qualified leads, they've either clicked on a call to action saying they want a demo and they want to talk to sales. They've maybe filled out a form, an order form or something like that, and we want to make sure that somebody follows up with them as soon as possible. With Sales Hub, we're going to have that connection between the marketing team and the sales team, because the automation and workflows will be in the same tool. What we can do with the automation here is that we can rotate a lead between teams, between geography owners, whatever type of attribute that we want to work off, we can do that and alert the rep who is in charge. We'll also be able to send stuff like an internal SMS to let the rep know that they've got a new lead that needs to be followed up with as soon as possible. We can do a lot of updates from the contact record point of view as well in an automated way. So we have, so the salesperson knows everything that they need to know before they reach out. The salesperson will also have the overview of what has previously taken place in the marketing, from a marketing point of view. So on the contact record, they'll also have all of the interactions between marketing and the customer. This automation allows them to reach out to the customer with context and have that sales, that inbound sales motion where they know what the situation is before they jump on the call. Sales automation, it can get as complex or as simple as you wish. When I talk to my customers about this, especially in these days, the way everybody is all over the world, they could be managing teams, they're not seeing them face to face, they're not controlling exactly what's happening. Anytime that we can automate this process, and we can then measure the success of this process, would be something to look into. For example, if we've set up an automation for a lead distribution, we can set up a timer. So the salesperson says, okay, we have give the salesperson 3 hours to follow up with this lead. If they don't, if they're busy, if they've got something going on at home that they couldn't avoid and they can't call the customer quickly, we'll rotate that automatically to the next sales rep in line. So we can build all these business rules in the background and make the process very customizable so it suits your business. Okay, so sequences. Sequences is how HubSpot has how we think about standardizing the approach of sales to customers in the inbound sales methodology, so that we know for sure that all of the leads that are coming into our funnel are handled in the same way, so nothing falls through the cracks. So with sequences, it's a timed a series of one-to-one messages and tasks based off templates that are set by either sales leadership or individual salespeople or even marketing. These emails will have different tokens, so they'll be very customized or very personalized. So we'll have their name of the company, what their last action was, what last piece of content that they downloaded. All of those little bits of personalization is going to help with the reply rate. So sequences is, again, from an abstract point of view, is going to be a standardization of the sales process. So if you hire a new salesperson, you say, this is the sequence of events that I want you to do when you get a new lead. The first one is you send out, you enroll a contact in the sequence. They get the first email. The day later, you'll have an automatic task in your to-do list within the CRM to call that person. And then if they don't answer, 3 days later, they'll get another sequence email with your signature, your meeting link, all that type of stuff. So this is a standard way of approaching sales. And it's something that we can measure the effectiveness as well, as we can measure the reply rate, meeting book rate, all that type of stuff. Selling with video. This is something that is super underutilized, even with the customers that we have that are set up with the ability to use this. So with HubSpot, you will have the ability to, this is HubSpot Sales. Once you get set up with Sales Hub, you will be able to send emails directly from the interface. So this little picture down here is what a contact record looks like. Brian Halligan, our CEO, is the guy that we're calling here. With HubSpot, you'll be able to create the email directly in the interface. And you'll also be able to record a video of you speaking about the customer, maybe on the customer's website, something that gives a very personal approach, so they know that it's not just an automated message that goes out to everybody. And then you can track the effectiveness of these videos as well, if they've been opened, how long people are watching them, stuff like that. Since I was in sales, I was using this, or since I was in HubSpot Sales, I've been using video in my sales process, and the reply rate to videos compared to emails is they're not comparable, and it's still very much underutilized. So HubSpot had been using Vidyard for a couple of years, and then they loved it so much that they made a deal with those guys to integrate that completely into Sales Hub. And as a Sales Hub customer, you get that included in your subscription. So again, if somebody is sitting at home, if they're like me, a lonely remote worker, getting a really personalized video from somebody really tees up the next meeting and kind of softens up the approach for sure. Playbooks. Playbooks is another thing that is that we brought into the Sales Hub to standardize the sales process. So sales playbooks build a library of best practices and resources. Use rule-based automation to surface recommended content for your sales team. So these can be scripts that are open for salespeople to go through with customers. They might be something, say, if a customer has questions about GDPR, we bring up the GDPR playbook. Everything that your salesperson has to know about GDPR will be in that playbook. If we're using these playbooks for discovery calls and maybe a junior sales rep is doing the discovery call, and we want to make sure that we standardize the information that they're gathering. We can standardize that in a selection piece on the right here, so that all of the information that is collected will be stored on the contact record in the timeline. So anybody else who is next in line for the sales process will know exactly what happened on that first call. This is going to be built in at the Sales Enterprise or Sales Hub Enterprise level, and it's something that if you've got a call center style setup, if you've got multiple people and then transactional sales, this is something that can be really, really beneficial for you guys. Okay, so deal management is the next part of this. So let's talk about this, because this is something where Mark Roberge really was kind of singling in on or going in on. He was talking about building a process that made sense. So with HubSpot, you'll be able to run multiple pipelines in your deal process. So whether that's a service versus product pipeline, whatever, each deal stage in HubSpot will be customizable as well. And this is something that you can customize going forward if you're a super admin. We can set up automations in between the different deal stages. So let's say we had a scoping call with somebody, and then the sales person wants to move that onto budget set. We can put in a form where these guys have to fill out a certain amount of information in order for them to get to the next level. What HubSpot then does is takes you guys will be setting up a likelihood of closing, a percentage likelihood on each deal stage. HubSpot calculates the forecast based on that, and then you'll have forecast reporting very easily set up as well. The forecast reporting will be something that's going to be built for you in reports in the report library. So if you've used one of the other CRMs where you're managing a sales team and you're trying to build reports, and this is something that will be kind of built for you guys. From a processes point of view, this is where Diogo and Provident really come in as well. When you buy HubSpot Sales, you get a lot out of the box, and it will work for most sales process or most sales businesses. But without that type of scoping, without that type of very purposefully built sales processes, you won't get the most out of HubSpot off the shelf, in my opinion. And Diogo, you might talk a little bit about that with kind of scoping the process for customers.
Yeah, so like based on our experience, what we sometimes see on filed past CRM implementations is most of the times is not the product that is the issue. I think it's common for customers to get excited with the features on products and then start to craft their process around cool features in a software platform, and that's usually ends up with a nightmare, with usually processes that are very hard to keep up and maintain. So what we usually like to do, and we think that's the best approach, is we usually tell our customers, even when they sign with HubSpot, they say the first session is there's no platform. We don't want to speak about HubSpot. We want to understand what your sales process, what your marketing process is, what your customer journey is, and then we will highlight to you how to take advantage of HubSpot to make that process better. And if you work that way, you have a system that is working towards your process and helping you, and not the way around. And usually this is something that we see often being done, and that ends up in processes being then very hard to manage. Users get frustrated, then they don't have data, then managers don't have accurate reports, and then
so the whole thing breaks down.
There's hell in the house.
Okay, cool. So thanks very much for that. And just I suppose as a conclusion to the conversation that we had today, we're going to jump into some Q&A now in a minute. I know some people have already submitted questions, so we'll do our best to get through that. We've got about 10 minutes. But from a conclusion point of view, what we've shown you today has been a super high level look at how HubSpot can help companies with the new normal of distribution of teams, distribution of decision makers, how to access people's attention from the very top of funnel, nurture that attention into someone who is willing to do business with us, and then automating as much as possible the sales process and the reporting to make a team that's going to be distributed, where you can't be, on somebody's shoulder seeing what they're doing every day, where you can't have that in place. HubSpot will give you all the tools that you need to kind of thrive in this new normal. Like we said at the beginning, I don't think that a lot of people are willing to go back to the way things were anytime soon. For safety reasons, for one, but also because people have seen how productive we can be at home and working remote and doing Zoom videos and stuff like that. So I think that we should be thinking about this as an opportunity, but we do need to have all of the tools and structures in place to make sure that we get the most out of it. And that's why we ran this webinar today. So we'll take your Q&A now, if you guys have any.
Yeah, so there was here a question that is regarding pricing models. So it's about how customers move from the free version to the paid version. And I think we should speak about that. I can start from my perspective. So one of the things I find very interesting about HubSpot is the free user model. All right, so one of the things we see a lot when we are implementing CRM projects is when the licensing model is basically paid only. What happens is, from a budget perspective, organizations tend to restrict the access to the CRMs, and we all understand that all companies are budget sensitive, and what's ended up happening is that you pick just the sales team, or you just pick a few guys, or you even tend to share logins. We've seen everything, but the advantage here that HubSpot has is that this hybrid model that is not shared by many other vendors. That even though if you would have 10 users in your organization licensed, you can give access to basically to the free CRM to the entire organization. That basically allows people to see what's happening and it's what's going on, and I think that's a brilliant model.
I have a really good example of that, just to maybe illustrate that for people who don't have much experience with HubSpot. So I was working in the Nordics for a long time as a salesperson there for HubSpot, and we had a big consulting company that wanted to use HubSpot Sales. They had about 150 or so people who needed to have access to HubSpot on a daily basis. A lot of consultants who would be looking at the project pipeline, all that type of stuff, right? One of the biggest reasons why we won that contract was the fact that only about 50 to 60 members of that 150 people who would be using HubSpot were quota carrying. So they needed stuff like sequences, they needed to be on lead rotation, all that type of stuff. Everybody else, the other 100 people who were going to be using HubSpot on a daily basis, paid absolutely nothing. So once you've got the professional or the enterprise sales hub in place, you can pick and choose the people who are going to be actively contacting customers and trying to win business. Give those people the licenses. They're the ones that are going to be paid for. And all of the other admin people, accounting, finance, whatever, they can have their very own login within HubSpot, and they can even make changes to most of the records.
Yeah, and also there is a fair model. It's a fair model because basically customers end up paying for features that are generating productivity. So
exactly.
what you're paying is for the productivity tools, and there's a clear ROI on that, and it's a clear understanding why you're paying, because you're doing something faster, or you have an automation that is running on the back and doing the work for you, or you have playbooks that ensure that the sales processes and the internal processes are being followed correctly. All the information is being collected. So I think to be frank, I think it's a great model. allows the entire organization to be in contact with the data that is generating, and I see that as a very fair model. So like we won't go deep in why like what differentiates between versions. I think the HubSpot website has lots of information around that. We are happy, once again, as we said, to do one-to-one sessions and going into more deep questions around this topic.
Exactly. So
yeah, go ahead.
There's a few other ones there. I know we've only got 5 minutes. We want to make sure that we get as many as we can done.
There was here a question. It's also why is the ad limit capped in the Marketing Hub?
It's an interesting question. There's like an add-on that you can buy, and you can buy more capacity for that. I would imagine, and I don't know this for sure. If that person wants to give me their or we'll have their email address anyway. I might follow up that independently, because I think it's something to do with maybe a charge or something that the third party uses for the API access. So it's something to do with the API calls or something like that. But to be honest, I'm not sure. But we can follow up and make sure that we get that info to you.
Okay, brilliant. So we will get back. Another question I have here is, how can my business generate more new leads and basically increase sales, and do we guarantee any results?
All right, so it's a great question, and it's something that I think everybody on the call today would have been interested in. One, the way I like to think about HubSpot, especially the first question there was, will you be able to generate leads with HubSpot? You will be able to generate leads with HubSpot, but it's more of like the way I like to think about it is like buying a membership to like a gym. You've got to put the work in. You've got to build the content. HubSpot gives you everything you need to make sure that you do the best work that you can with the content that you build, build the automations, all that type of stuff. It builds the infrastructure to make sure that this gives you the best chance. When it comes to getting people to convert on landing pages and stuff like that, there is best practices that you'll have the help to discover from your customer success manager here at HubSpot and all that type of coaching. But at the end of the day, the only way to get leads to convert into your database is going to be providing compelling content, compelling advertising, compelling offers to make sure that you're really hitting the pain point of your potential customer at the right time in their buyer journey. So say if somebody doesn't even know that they need your product, or if they've never come across your product before, if you put up an ad that says you give them 40% off, they're like 40% off of what? That I don't understand what this product is. That's a wasted advertisement, in my opinion. So we want to make sure that we have all the tools that we need to maximize the ability for us to generate leads. There's no guarantee of give us X amount of dollars, you get X amount of leads. But there is a guarantee that you'll get the best in class marketing tools.
And also, I think there is another element to this question, that is the analytical tools give you the insights to make things better. So we are often asked, so what's the secret for success, the magic recipe? So what's the magic sauce? And there is none. Like the only thing we can promise is that if you do something and you track it, you have to try and make it better. And it's an iteration process. You learn by failing. Unfortunately, that's the process in life. But the good news here is that you can track and monitor, so you can get better doing stuff.
There is one more thing that I'd like to add on that one as well. There is this kind of wisdom of the crowd that you'll get access to as a customer of HubSpot. From a marketing point of view, I think we've got something like 70,000 customers or something like that from a paid marketing hub point of view. So when you become a customer of HubSpot, even if you work with Provident, you'll also get a customer success coach who will meet with you guys on a monthly basis. Have a look at what your analytics, like you mentioned, Diogo, have a look at your analytics, see what's going on, compare that to other customers that are really thriving, and give you some more information there. Because the good thing about HubSpot as well is that everyone's incentivized to make sure that you're doing well. So whether that's our partners like Provident, whether that's me as the partner manager or the customer success manager, the more you get out of the product, the more we get out of our benefits as well. So everyone's on the same page, swimming in the same direction. So we should benefit from that. We're at 3 o'clock. Will we get one more question in, Diogo? Let's get one more.
Yeah, I answered two here directly, but there is a last one that I didn't answer. That is, how do you keep emails out of spam junk?
How do we? Okay, I'll tell you exactly how we do that. We've got a whole squad of people who sit in Cambridge in the United States, just outside Boston, who their sole job is email deliverability. There's something you say 10 times fast, deliverability. And these guys are doing everything in their power to maintain HubSpot's exceptionally high deliverability rate. We've got some controls in place to ensure that our customers aren't spamming people. So for instance, there's a limit per contact of 10 emails per month that you can put into automations per person. There's a few other controls that we have to make sure that we keep our deliverability at the very, very top of the market, which has always been. So this is something that, although we can't plan for people marking your company as a spam email that's coming in, we'll do our best to make sure that that won't happen automatically. And that's been the case for the vast majority of our customers. Okay.
Listen, we're going to finish. I have a last question here that I will answer live. If the webinar was recorded, yes, the webinar is recorded, and you will all receive an email with the link to the recording session.
Absolutely.
So I think we'll
wrap it up there. I'd like to say thanks everybody for coming along. Thanks for Daniela for setting this up in the background from marketing in Provident. We're going to send this out to you guys. Our call to action at the end is to reach out to Diogo directly, or you can contact me as well. I'll be on the follow-up email. Let's sit down. Let's have a chat about what you're going to be using HubSpot for, or even if you just want to have a chat about your marketing and sales processes. If we can help, we'll be happy to meet with you guys and walk you through it. I hope you found this interesting. If you did, share this with your friends who you think might benefit from this as well. Get them to give us a call as well, and we'll be able to help you guys if we can. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you, Luke. Thank you for your participation on this webinar, and thank you, everyone. We have a very good number here of participants, so we are very happy. Hope you all enjoyed this session, and see you soon, and stay safe.
Okay, bye, guys.